all those guys are doing a good job with execution. Obviously, we've had a lot of shorts practices and one shells practice, so the amount of live work against the defense is kind of cut down a little bit. But I think they're doing a great job with managing the pre-snap stuff, with calling the huddle, getting the signal, making a check, moving a guy over, whatever he needs to do. So all the automatics they've really been good at, and then Coach Worley continues to do a great job with them fundamentally, just improving. So I think all three of those guys, thank you, all three of those guys are progressing like we would like. We haven't run the football with them or anything like that really, but I think they've all shown that they're very capable of running the offense. And then Bryson Daly has really improved. He improved in the spring from the fall, and now he's a better quarterback right now than he was in the spring. He's lighter. He's lost some weight and kind of got some twitch back and gaining some confidence. It's just a reps thing with young quarterbacks like that. So I like where our room's at. I think back to 9 years ago, and we didn't have the options that we're developing now.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Coach. Just maybe to start, what have been what are the objectives you have as you start the first week of summer practice and getting your team where you want it to be for opening day?
Well, I think the first thing, and we have to kind of assume an identity and continue to develop the work habits that are going to serve us well during the season, and become proficient at the things that are going to help us follow our plan to win. And I know that may sound like coach talk, but that's really important early in camp. Things we talk about a lot in meetings. We've got to install basic drills that we're going to do every week, things we're going to do as an offense every week, so they get in a routine and they know what to expect, and they can continue to improve and play faster and become more confident and develop that competitive courage, so that they'll do it the way they practice it when we start to get in games. So I think that's a lot what camp's about early, and then you got to really develop depth. And you'll always find a couple of young guys that maybe are progressing faster than what you may have thought, and that'll be ready to help you in the fall.
Very good. Now, I guess getting the offensive line restructured is vital. You got Connor Bishop. How did you feel like the offensive line came away from spring and worked over the summer to where you are now?
Well, I really thought from the spring to the summer we really improved. In other words, when we left spring and they went and worked with Coach Shears and his staff all summer, and then did the work on their own and did some meetings with us, I felt like their retention and their knowledge of the offense was much better at this point right now than it was where we ended spring. We didn't have to regress or start back over, and I think that's been huge. So we've been able to really move at a fast pace install-wise. We've got some competition going on at some spots, which is outstanding. That's going to sharpen all of us, and not sure who's going to be the first five yet. But that's a good situation right now. And that's another thing that we haven't always had. I feel like we're getting closer to having 9 or 10 guys that could be in a rotation in a game. And that's something we really have worked hard to do. And I think we're getting closer.
Maybe you could mention some of the veterans you have coming back on the offensive line that you expect to see playing when you get set for Coastal Carolina.
Sure. Well, about Connor Bishop. I mean, he's obviously been so consistent and just doing an outstanding job of leading. About Connor Finucane, who started games for 2 years, and Booby Law, who has done the same. But Jackson Filipowicz is another guy who has been a backup center in the past, who's really developed in the spring. We moved him to guard. He's certainly in the mix. Sam Barzak is another one who played some last year in backup role, but is definitely in the mix for a starting job. He's a junior, eligibility wise, and Aiden Gaines is another one that's in that mix at guard. That tackle, David Hayward, who's a junior, has really started to come on, along with Shane Buckingham and Simon Dellinger. So those guys are kind of in three-way battle, I would say, for to be the next tackle. So it's great. We've got competition at those spots, and honestly, the depth chart changes daily, and we're only on our third practice, and you can't tell that much yet, but feel good about those guys pushing each other and having those options, and we've just got to continue to get better.
And obviously, Coach, you got the two big fullbacks in Jacoby Buchanan and Tyson. Tell us, you've then also got some really good fast playmakers in Isaiah Alston, Tyrell Robinson. Is that a good option to be able to have both speed and the ability to make the short yardage plays?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what you're looking for. You want to have excuse me, hit the cord. You want to have a great inside-outside game, the ability to make, if they take away things inside internally with the fullback, to get the ball on the edge, or if they're taking chances in the secondary, to have somebody to throw it to. And, obviously Isaiah can make those plays, particularly in single coverage, and he's really, really good. He's a great rebounder. Like I say, he can anticipate where the ball's going and use his body to make plays, and then he's got incredible ball skills and hands, the ability to pull the ball back into his body. And then Tyrell is just such a versatile guy who, to me, continues to get better with his knowledge of the offense and kind of how things fit, and allows us to move him more and more places. And he's not the only one. We got some other guys that are really improving in there. That slot, Ajon Marshall comes to mind, just who played a good bit last year, but who's really improving, who's got a really nice burst. And we moved Mo Ballon from quarterback to slot. He's been a good addition there as well. I like that room. Brahim Murphy, really good receiving skills, and is doing a good job of his understanding of the offense, and a good job leading. And then Cole Catterbone's been playing both receiver and slot, and he's a tough guy he's got a versatile skill set for us. So, we've got some guys that a little more depth at that position, and I think our skill has continued to improve. So, it's good to have options.
A final question, just on quarterback depth. We saw Alex Meredith play in the spring game, and also Elon Mitchell made some good plays. Are they both in the mix this year?
Yeah, I think it's a process. Alex is still in the early stages of his development. Same thing with Elon. And they've, obviously there's guys that are ahead of them right now. So, the fourth and fifth quarterback or fifth and sixth quarterback, don't normally see a lot of action unless it's a COVID year or something like that. But but they're in development, and we've seen good things out of those guys for sure.
Who's your number 4? Where are they?
Yeah, right now I would say Bryson Daly for sure. Yeah.
Bryson. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Go over to Ken McMillan.
Hey, Brent. Ken McMillan from The Record.
Hey, kid.
Hey, we were talking to Nate Woody the other day, and I kind of got the impression that, he's going to shape his defense based upon his strengths. And obviously Andre Carter is one of those. But when I look at the offense, you have so many pieces back. Would you anticipate much change in your offensive philosophy this year, or just a matter of just going out there and get it?
I think we'll be very similar, honestly. Sometimes you tailor, the offense a little bit to the quarterback. And certainly Christian Anderson was fully functional in anything that we wanted to do, and really did an outstanding job executing all phases and running the ball really well. Had a bunch of explosive runs. Tyhier Tyler has continued to get better in the passing game. And then Cade Ballard is a guy who really continues to improve as an option quarterback. And he's always been a good option quarterback. I shouldn't phrase it like that, but he's moving a lot better. He's healthy, and he's always been able to really throw the football and had a great understanding. So those two guys complement each other well, but I wouldn't say they're so different as maybe we were 2 years ago when Tyhier was still just moving back to quarterback, and then we had Tyhier and Christian. They were very different, and I would say these guys are a little more similar. So the offense ends up being tailored around their strengths sometimes, but we're going to be an inside-out football team, and we're going to start off with those guys, inside with Jacoby and Tyson, and then kind of work off of that. So,
given your personnel losses, you might be concerned about the line, but you really gave those guys a lot of, backup reps last year. So they're probably further ahead than, maybe other years.
Yeah, it's been a process. It's been a 9-year process, Ken. And as far as developing depth on the offensive line. And so Coach Vitti and I, this is the best we've felt about the depth on the offensive line since we've been here. Now that they've got to come together and we've got to, continue to improve, but there are more guys that have a chance to play winning football for the Black Knights than we've ever had. And I really feel good about that. And the attitude in that room is outstanding. And the leadership in that room is outstanding. And that matters. It really does. And I just can't say enough about the way those guys have led each other and worked. And I think that's going to make a difference.
Jeff kind of said the other day that he'd like, following next Saturday's practice, not tomorrow, but next Saturday, he'd like to have a good understanding of, who his starters, who his travel team's going to be. What's your philosophy on it? Can it come together and you can work from a position of knowledge after next Saturday?
I would think you'd be a lot closer. There might be a couple positions where there's still battle going on. We'll be 11 practices in. And for an offensive line, you kind of judge it as with the padded practices. Those are the ones where you can really tell. But in game like situations like scrimmages. But yeah, absolutely, I think we'll be a lot closer by that time. It happens fast, and so hopefully we'll have a good understanding of it, a week from now. I didn't even know what day it was. Today's Friday, I guess, then, huh?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
TT obviously has got a lot of snaps in. Cade, not so much, not since, 2020. What's your thinking process on someone like Cade stepping in without as many live snaps? Are you concerned in any way, or can it be replicated in practice?
Well, the first thing I'd say is he's never lost a football game that he started, including all his games in Tennessee. I think he's got a great background with being a coach's son, and he's been a sponge in that regard. So I'm not concerned about that at all. I think he plays with great confidence, and because he puts in the work to understand, and he puts in extra time with Coach Worley. So no, that's not something we're worried about at all.
All right. Last thing. What about, the running backs? Very solid here. What's it like having a running back core that continually ranks in, say, like the top 3 in the nation? Tell me about the pride factor.
Well, I think there's a pride amongst the offense. There's a lot of guys that contribute to, that. I think that there's a lot of it's a result of philosophy and what our guys are really good at, and the things that we believe in, ball control and efficiency. But at the same time, doesn't mean you can't be explosive. So we're going to be efficient first, and then try to take the plays as they come to us. But I would say there's a lot of pride in a lot of things in this program, and it's not really tailored towards one position or one side of the ball. It's all encompassing in kind of the way things are done and the things that are valued.
Thanks, Brent.
Yes, sir.
We'll go to Tom, and then Sal, you can wrap up with Coach.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to also ask you, but you've been there a long time, and a firm day is a big day for these juniors. What kind of respect have you gained for these guys that they reach this point in their careers, and then they sign on for that final commitment?
I'll tell you, one of the most rewarding things has been to see guys that have left and to see the things they're doing in the Army now. And absolutely, to see guys like Bryce Holland finish first in his Ranger School class and then finish first in Special Forces selection, and to have great pride in the fact that I think every offensive lineman that's gone to Ranger School from Army West Point over the last 8 years has made it straight through. And so just that, that not that we had anything to do with that, but that knowing that football is also a leadership laboratory to hopefully help those guys, and to have guys come back and tell you, Coach, there's things that you did with offensive line or you did with the offense that I use with my guys in my unit. You know, there's immense pride in that. And to think that, you know, I know they get unbelievable training in the Army, but to think that we could play a role in helping them become great leaders of men and women in the United States Army to serve, I mean, that's very humbling. And so that's something I didn't realize maybe when we just first got here, because you're so consumed with trying to, you know, build a culture and change things and rebuild. And then guys start coming back, and the pride they take in what they did here, the pride they take in the guys they left behind and the legacy they left. They want the groups behind them to do even better. And then what they're doing in the Army, to me, I don't see how there could be a better officer than an Army football player, a former Army football player. I really don't.
Great. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll go to Sal to wrap up with Coach before Buchanan comes in.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Great. What's up, Sal?
Hey, I'm good. I just what's it like having Mike Beatty as an offensive line coach, and what have you seen from him in his early stages at that coaching that position?
Well, just his mentality and toughness and his approach, his mental approach to the game. You know, the edge that's required to play that position. You know, obviously, I kid him all the time. I say, you really played guard in college. I know you were fullback, but you were really a guard and should have hung out with the O-line. But no, I think that the mentality that he brings, and he's just and really an incredible teacher and such a professional. But mindset number one, and then two, just he's an incredible just organizer, and he's a sponge when it comes to the things that maybe he lacked experience in as far as technique or verbiage or whatever. He picks things up so quickly. So he's doing an outstanding job, but he just the attitude he brings to that group every day is phenomenal.
Yeah, just one more on the fullbacks. We have Jacoby and Tyson back. I just wondering who, like in the off season from spring to now, who might have, what are the other guys that might have taken some steps forward there at that position?
Yeah, we had some guys banged up in the spring, Sal, that didn't get a whole lot of reps. I mean, we've got a couple banged up now, but Markel Johnson comes to mind. Had a really good spring. The guy we moved from slot back. Maybe not as big as the other guys, you know, at that position, but really has a great burst. Continuing, he's got to get better playing without the ball, obviously, and just a repetition thing. But thought he showed some explosiveness. He comes to mind, and then you know, you got AJ Williams, who's been a little banged up, Jarrell Dixon, Lucky Brooks. So those are three more, and then Bo Kite is a linebacker that moved to that position. So those are guys that are in the mix that have all shown us good things, but they need to get some continuity as far as repetition so they can develop, you know. And so that's important, because that's a position where inevitably at times we've played 4 and 5 guys, you know, at that position just because of the nature of it. So we definitely need to find a third guy and continue to develop that depth. And so